I said I was going to do tower upgrades, but this has been on my mind pretty much since I stopped recording the last video, so we'll just do it now. Hello all you crazy people out there, my name is Michael, I like wizards and dragons and making games, and welcome back to making a tower defense game in Game Maker Studio 2.3. So, I said I was going to do tower upgrades, but, like I said, I have had something else on the brain for a while, and that something else happens to be a speed up button for the UI over here. So we're going to be doing that instead and putting off the tower upgrades to a later date. Did the last one die? The last one died. So let's I've thought through how this is going to work a little bit, and it shouldn't be too bad. Instead of basically just processing one update tick per step, we'll process two. So first, let me go and create some buttons on the UI, and they can look like this. And we can change the text on these buttons fairly easily with just one of these variable definition things. And if I run the game now, we will have buttons that say 1x and 2x on them. I might change that to like 1 times speed and like 3 times speed or something. I may also just change it to a generic like fast forward arrow later. The buttons are here now. They're currently still hooked up to the next wave button because that was what I copied to get them, but we can give them some behavior. So let's see. I can go into the games constructor and let's see. I guess here is where the variables related to gameplay things are. So we can just define game speed. I'm gonna set that to 1. A little bit further down where the methods are, I can create myself a method, set game speed. And that can just take a function. This is basically a mutator method. Like this. Game Maker doesn't really have public or private variables. This game underscore speed is just a public variable. You could set it from anywhere in the code, but I'm just going to use a method anyway. Because just in case I want anything special to happen each and every time you change the game speed. So it's just in case I want any additional code to run when I do this. The basic principle of an accessor or mutator, regardless of whether or not your programming language supports public and private variable access. So we can hook this up to something. Let us just go into creation code, I guess. On click game.sendInWaveEarly is the method that is called in the send in wave button. Set game speed is going to be the method that's going to be called from this button. We can set it to 1 as the default speed. Makes sense. And here in the fast forward button, we can set it to 2. So this will be running at 1 times speed or 2 times speed. So the way you might want to do this is by doing something like applying a scale to the delta time in the world. That is not a great idea for real-time strategy or for simulations in general. Just scaling up the movement speed of everything by 2 times or whatever, because that could cause things to happen such as enemies only taking damage once every frame even though they're moving twice as fast, or that could cause things to happen such as like missing a bullet appearing to pass through something because it's moving twice as fast and it's not ever detected as colliding with an object, because I'm just doing simple like point containment collision and not actual line casts for bullets right now. And it could cause some other unusual issues if you just like apply a 2 times multiplier to delta time everywhere. So instead, game speed is just basically going to determine the number of updates that the game runs per step event. In the update method in gameplay mode, we don't really care about running the entire update method twice because things like the editor, that would just be a waste of time. However, we don't really need to process the mouse cursor twice, or if you're clicking on anything, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense to process sending in waves early twice per update. This is fine. This is, I believe this will want to run as many times as the game speed, and also this and this. So these 3 for loops. So we can just create ourselves a new for loop, var for var. It could be a single letter, but I'm just gonna call it UC for like update count is 0, UC is less than self.game underscore speed. I'm really inconsistent with the, Actually, you know, I can just use a repeat loop here, can't I? I'm really inconsistent with the use of, the self keyword when it comes to, struct variables, aren't I? Anyway, repeat would be somewhat nicer since we don't actually need to access the loop counter. Repeat self.game speed. And that is just going to cause this code to run as many times as is defined by specified by this game speed variable. So under normal conditions, it'll be running once, and under special conditions, such as when you hit the speed up button, it'll be running twice. Okay. This should be all I need to do. So if I were to send you in and say speed up and slow down, speed up, slow down. Okay, great. This is actually working. Since this affects every acting instance in the game, you are really just missing the enemies here, aren't you? Since this affects every active instance in the game, I should be able to just not have to do anything else, and all the towers will be running at double speed. If I were to, for example, send in a fire tower, your health bars are not appearing. Was I having an issue with that in the last video, with the health bars not appearing? I feel like I was. Anyway, we're definitely running at double speed with your fire rate and all that. And let's see, do you have to take a certain amount of damage before your health bars show up? I don't think you do. How peculiar. The game is running at double speed, so we can just implement the push this commit. Added a speed up button, and it would be nice if we had some indication as to whether or not the game was running at double speed or not. So I think, is there any other code in graphical stuff, user interface stuff, UI button? Is there any other code in here that determines like how you're drawn? I guess I could just give you a color tinting. Is there a draw sprite stretched extended? Yes, there is. We can say color is going to be, I could say like image blend or something, but that's a built-in keyword and I don't know if I want to mess with it. We can just make a variable called tint. And I guess since we're using the built-in variables, I'm trying to remember to use these once in a while. I guess since we're using the built-in variables, I call it color tints just to be a little bit more explicit about things. And we can set your color to like 100%. Actually white. Yeah. And I'll set it to like light blue or something like that, and like a color like this when it's active. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I can like save colors as well. Why are you? Oh, the transparency is all the way down. Can you stop doing that, please? Is this like? There we go. The color selected here is a little weird. Anyway, enough with that. Color tint is going to be the blending color for this. Each UI button still has a get text method, I think. Do you? No, it doesn't look like you do. Okay. I thought they did. I thought there were some, let's look at creation code here. Okay. I might attach a get text or an update or something to UI buttons just so that they can have their state set on the fly and not just like say the same text eternally or anything like that. Okay. Maybe it's not there. It's just a text variable, right? I think. And then this is a little bit like tautological, and it's kind of redundant because it's just reassigning text to itself basically with extra steps. But that can be overridden, and it can do different things. Actually, you know what? We'll just make it a general update, since that's what I'm going to be using it for anyway. I don't know why I suddenly had my mind set on getText. And that's what we'll be using it for anyway. And it can, it doesn't have to like return a text string or anything like that, anything silly like that. Okay, so now if we go into rem_test, we can define the update function, and this can be if game.game_speed is equal to 1. What's a nice color? Sea aqua is kind of a nice color, I guess. Else the color can be white. And we can do the same here, except it's going to be the opposite, I guess. I guess I'll just say greater than 1 because I might change this speed up value to something else. We can say yeah, okay, so this should tint the buttons based on what the game speed is set to. Right? Okay, good. There have been 2 things in this video that have worked on the first try. That's nice. So let's see. Yeah, that's fine. The way that it's aqua color and it darkens anyway when you mouse over it. That's fine. That's like responsive UI design. I'm also... Did I accidentally disable a bunch of drawing code? Because I'm not seeing the bullets either. Oh, I am seeing the bullets. They're just... I was having this problem in a previous video. They're just not being... They're not on screen for long enough for my eyeballs to realize they're there. Okay. Anyway, the buttons have their color tinted blue. Like that. And let's see if we can figure out what's going on with the... I can just collapse this entire update method. Let's see if I can figure out what's going on with the health bars not drawing. Save map, load map. This really should be in some other location in code that isn't this main script here. Render. Player tower spawn. Editor mode. We don't need the editor mode. Okay, so what was the problem? It was nothing to do with the shader. This is just my old nemesis, the layering system in GameMaker. So when I was creating the other UI layers, they auto sorted. They changed the depths. All the layers changed their depths so that the top game overlay UI layer is a depth of 0. UI tower select is a depth of 100. UI game is a depth of 200, and instances are a depth of 300. And when you draw sprites in GameMaker, and this doesn't really apply to vertex buffers when you vertex emit them, but when you draw sprites in GameMakers, their Z value, their Z position, is essentially set to the depth of the current layer that's being currently drawn. And when you try to do something like draw a billboard sprite in GameMaker using a system such as this, when you say draw sprite extended, the X is going to be 0 or whatever you pass into the X coordinate. The Y is going to be 0 or whatever you pass into the Y coordinate. And the Z, since everything in GameMaker has a 3D position when it's drawn, is going to be 300, hence the depth value. And I would really like it to stop auto-sorting my layers. I know there's a lock button there. I think this shouldn't affect anything else doing that. I think I guess I can just manually force the depth of the game object to 0 in the create event. But let's see if this works. If this causes other problems further on down the line, which it shouldn't, because I am completely 100% manually drawing the UI. I can just force the depth value of the one single game object to 0, but we'll see. So you're gonna wander in, and you now have your health bars again. Okay, good. And you know what? Just because I don't trust it to stay this way, kind of. But I don't trust Game Maker to not auto-sort my layers. Yes. I'm just gonna do what I just said a minute ago, and force the depth of this object that's doing all the game updating, all the rendering, all the everything to 0, and from there we shouldn't have any further problems with depth and sprites that take place in the game world. Okay. Nope, that did not. Oh, there. Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say that didn't do it, but I thought the ant ran into the poison and therefore should have taken poison damage. But what that actually was just the poison cloud disappearing before the ant walked through it and not actually doing anything. Okay. Crisis averted, kind of. Like you can see in this list of changes that this is literally all I've changed in the 10 minutes or whatever that I cut away. All right. How long have I been recording today? Probably not that long. All right, my OBS tells me I've been recording for 34 minutes, but I'm guessing a lot of that is going to be cut out because I've been just like looking at shader code and not doing anything. Thank you, Game Maker layering system. So I kind of feel like I should do what I've been telling myself that I should do for a while, and commenting my code, since that's something I've done basically none of. I honestly don't know where I would start with that. Some of this is what I could potentially theoretically get away with calling self-documenting, like collision free, collision is path, or get raycast blocked. It should be fairly obvious what those do. Get under cursor, it should be fairly obvious what those do. Some things in like the update method that it might not be as much. And if I just like add a little bit of comments in my code and not do the whole thing, that could arguably be worse than not doing anything at all. Should I do that?
I'll do it for at least some things like this. Like, what on earth is repeat self.game speed? Like that. Begin update and update. It's fairly obvious what that does, right? I guess this is... I remember being confused by this a couple of videos ago on exactly what this was doing. Like that. There are kind of two halves to the wave update. And now that I think about it, should this be inside repeat game self.game speed? Let me run the game and see if the auto send and wave behaves correctly, even if we're at 2 times speed or not. I think, because this is a timer that didn't mean to do that. I think since this is a timer that's ticking down, it should actually maybe be in here. So if we're gonna speed that up a little bit, if I can do it before. Okay, you know what? I realized what was happening there. The timer was ticking down at 1 second per second, but the game was ticking at 2 seconds per second. All right. So in other words, yes, we need to update the wave countdown multiple times per step. That would have been a bug. If I were to speed this up, you can see that the countdown is ticking twice as fast as it should. All right, finding bugs via documenting my code. I don't know how long it would have been before I noticed that if I wasn't doing this. Editor stuff. Is it worth doing anything to the editor? I don't know if I'm going to be touching the editor again for the rest of the series. It allows you to plot down trees. It allows you to plop down path nodes, and that's honestly probably all I needed to do. This is pretty bare bones. It would probably be nice if you could insert nodes into the path in between other nodes, but I haven't written any code to do that, and I don't know if I really have a need to. Deleting path nodes. Again, this feels pretty straightforward. This is just clicking on objects in the world and like editing them, like editing their scale, rotation, and all that. This feels like it should be straightforward. Deleting them. Yeah. The rainbow path node connection code I thought was fairly clever. Maybe I should document that just in case I don't think it's as clever in 3 months or whatever. Let's see, if I were to... What is it, F1? F2? No, F1 opens the save game dialog, which I don't need. What's the button to show the path nodes? There we go, F2. Like that, it goes from red to green to blue to purple. I like to think this is fairly clever. Not that I added anything, it's just interesting. Yeah. I guess. This is probably worth commenting on. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. The depth buffer sucks. I guess if I'm going to be in the, if I'm going to be thinking about code maintenance, I should probably, if there's something like a GUI layer object, it's probably worth giving this its own render method, which is going to look something like this. So, this is another thing that I wanted to do for a while, but just kept, like, not thinking about. This is the little mini struct that represents a UI layer. So, we can say block raycast.render, and we can just say, like, elements, because this is already a variable which belongs to the struct, and then we can just say render the background, essentially, is what this is. So render that, and then render each of the elements inside each of the contained elements. And then we should just be able to do very much the same thing as before, and where was that code? Like that. And then I think we can just do it again for the active UI layer, which would be the tower building UI or the tower selected UI or whatever else it may happen to be. A confirmation, yes, no, do you want to sell this tower UI or something like that? Okay, so we have this on the side, it's behaving, we can click on this and it's behaving, we click off of it, and alright. I'm just going to fold my code documentation into the rest of this. DRY, don't repeat yourself. And this is just a bunch of text on the screen. I should probably, since it's not written down anywhere and since it has been confusing me, F12 to move a thing to a new location, F1 to save, F2 to view hide path nodes. Let's align this to the right instead of to the left. And then we can draw the text on the edge of the screen. Tab. Okay, yes. We now have the text over here right aligned, and also there is finally something on the screen telling me how to view the path nodes, because I've been confused by that. All right, well, that's some code commenting. I can always go and do more with this. There's updating the camera. I took out left, right, up, down. I'm thinking about, and I have not committed to doing this yet, but in the name of not forcing the player to use the keyboard for anything, since panning the camera is kind of the only thing that the keyboard is used for right now, I'm thinking about if you move the mouse to the edge of the screen, like to the very edge of the screen, like the top 32 pixels or bottom 64 pixels or whatever, allowing the player to pan around the camera like that. I have not committed to that yet. Rendering. I feel like the skybox should not be rendered here with the camera. Like why? Everything else is everything else that's visible is drawn in here. The only thing in camera render is like the camera setup. GPU says Z test enable and Z write enable. That's fine. We really don't even need to turn Z testing off, because it's not like there's anything else that could be tested against there at that point. And we can see the skyboxes here. So just, do I want to get rid of that? I don't, nah, it's not hurting anything. It's not like turning on or off Z testing when you don't need to, when the depth buffer is already empty is going to change anything. Other than that, the camera's pretty straightforward. Towers, like reposition, yeah, reposition is pretty straightforward. Setting the stat mods is pretty straightforward. I like to think the shoot and get target functions aren't that complicated. Render's got a little bit of stuff in it, but it's mostly just setting the transform and optionally setting the colors if it's selected. I want to do something else eventually to indicate a selected tower other than making it glow like this. For all the time that I spent doing this, I think it looks pretty bad, and it doesn't look like something that you would want to see in a more polished game. When you sell a tower, you get back 100% of the cost you put into it, which I don't know if I like. I feel like there should be a little bit of inefficiency there to discourage people from, like, selling towers whenever they want to, but we'll see. I did a little bit of testing for a tower defense game that someone made once, and the whole gimmick of their game, or at least not the whole gimmick, but a gimmick of their game was that you were encouraged to sell towers as often as possible, and you did recoup 100% of the cost, and you ideally would have like built new towers that were more appropriate for the upcoming wave. But I found that like stressful, trying to constantly build and upgrade and sell towers as fast as possible. So I don't think I like that. I think I would rather discourage people from doing that. I guess I could throw an arbitrary like 0.9 and round it to the greatest whole number. But yeah, okay, I'll leave that there now. This is just going to be one big commit of a lot of tiny changes, which isn't ideal, but we're kind of in code maintenance mode right now. Remove collision. Render. Yeah, this is... I guess it's worth noting this is the first foe in the list, I believe. We are... No, this is going after the... Okay, yeah, it's starting at 0, and then after, when foes spawn, they get appended to the end of the list. So when you iterate over it in order, instead of in reverse order, you are scanning through for each of the foes that are closest to the end. Get the foe that's... I think I misspelled farthest. F-A-R-T-H-E-S-T. Bullets. Oh, you know what? There's also a bunch of other subclass tower types which may be worth documenting. Tower glass. Again, this is just this is basically the same thing as the base towers render method. It's just adding the little transparent render object thing and the data that goes with it. It's not really unique. Bug spray. Clouds last for what, 2 seconds? It might be worth parameterizing that. What's the cooldown? I guess the cooldown is different from the lifespan of the cloud, isn't it? Yeah, shot cooldown is different from the lifespan of the cloud. So I'll leave that comment here. There's so many, like, alternate implementations of the reposition method, and they all do almost exactly the same thing. I feel like it's gotta be a good idea to just use, like, the bounding box of an object or whatever, right? The collision box. I don't even know. These don't do anything interesting. These just draw themselves. And have some code for being selected and added and deleted and all that. Birds. Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it here. Alright. I've been talking to my computer for 50 minutes now. Most of that's not gonna be very important, but it does feel good to do code maintenance once in a while. I don't know if I spelled maintenance correctly there or not. I didn't see a red line, so I assume I did. But that's code maintenance. It stripped the, GitHub desktop stripped the white space, the space character that I accidentally typed at the end of that word there. That's interesting. I'll change the message to code maintenance and comments, because that's what it is.
Anyway, I'm going to end it off here. My name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games. If you want to mess around with this, the code will be in the GitHub repository in the video description. Look for the 3.4 release, I think is what we're up to. Time flies when you're having fun. I have a Patreon, so if you want to contribute towards these videos being made, there are links to that in all the usual places as well. Otherwise, I try to post about 2 of these videos a week. One of these tower defense videos and one tutorial. I hope you all found that interesting, and I will see you all later. Special thanks to Kiara Elizabeth, Connor, David Key, Edward Holt, Emily Koyo, Posho, Tusk, and Zenith for supporting these videos. If you want your name in the credits or to hear yourself shouted out at the end, head on over to the Patreon page down in the video description to join the fun.